I'm Sydney Sexton, and I directed Chemical Brownies. I was in a film program all 4 years of high school, and my teacher, he's given me a lot of opportunities, but along the way, he kind of led me to feel lesser than some of my peers, specifically my male ones. And that was kind of just a running theme in our class. There was a time when he needed people for a gig, and instead of asking for volunteers, which I was going to be when I was going to volunteer, he just went down the list of students and only named off my male classmates' names until he could find people to do the job. Me and my friends in that class, who are girls, we were like gobsmacked. Like, we couldn't believe that we actually just heard that happen and that he didn't even list off one female name. And there was other instances where, he's told me that because of my looks or what I was wearing, what I was dressing like, that I fit an acting role better than being behind the scenes, that I was perfect for one of these girlfriend characters rather than being behind the camera. So my senior thesis came up, and the night before, I had forgotten that we had to pitch the next day because everybody in my class had to pitch. So I quickly wrote out a synopsis for Chemical Brownies and decided that that's what I was going to pitch. And, it was kind of just like a joke. I went up there just to get the grade for it. I mean, I was passionate about this project, but I didn't think it was something that my class was going to want to create as a film crew. But then my pitch gets picked. And I tell my teacher that instead of what usually happens, who wins pitch writes. I told him that I'm not a writer. It's not what I love to do. It's not what I'm passionate about, that I want to direct. And he tells me that's too much power. You're going to put your girls at the top, and it's just too much power over this story. So he agrees to let me pick Claire as my writer, and then he tells me, but there's no way that she's going to be allowed to pick you as director. And I said, well, doesn't the writer usually pick the director on film sets? The writer should pick who makes their story kind of come to life creatively. So he agrees, and Claire ends up picking me to direct. I still put my girls at the top. My best friend, who came up with the story with me originally, was my assistant director. I have classmates come up to me being like, I'm glad that you're doing this. I'm excited for you to take this role. So then that kind of made me not worried that I couldn't, that I would let them down, but just, I was excited to finally do this, but I also had this thing in the back of my head that I couldn't. So then we started kind of forming it, we casted, and all of my cast members were really great, they were really cooperative, and it was becoming really, surreal that this was actually happening. Chemical Brownies continues to get made. We have shoots, every weekend, almost every weekday, early mornings, late nights, editing for hours, and we get 2 weeks to the project is due, or till it has to show, and my assistant editor loses half of our footage. We had an actor commuting from Houston 4 hours every shoot. We lost most of her footage, most of her audio, 2 of our main characters, most of their footage, most of our final concert audio and main camera footage. And for that, my teacher was like, you either figure out a way to solve this or we're cutting the entire project. And we'd been working on this for probably 3 months. So in the final project, instead of, we couldn't showcase the actual songs, which is how I pictured it in my head, how I wanted it. Instead, we just made it kind of like a montage thing with a lot of crowd hype, a lot of the band members looking like superstars, and it was still really beautiful. I still really liked that ending. It definitely isn't what I pictured, but it was still something that I was proud of. It kind of made me realize that this is something that I could do in the future, and it's what I want to do in the future, it's what I love to do, and that I had the capability to finish this, and that stress of film is the best kind of stress. And I've always said this, but if you're being stressed out by something you love, it's good stress. It's stress where once you finish it, it makes you happy, and I want to deal with this kind of stress for the rest of my life.